Welcome to the Fit Dad Nation podcast, forging strong fathers and raising a stronger generation. It's time to get up or shut up with your host, Steve Roy.
Hey guys, this is Steve Roy, host of the Fit Dad Nation podcast. Welcome to the show. Thanks for listening. So before I get into today's show, just want to share a couple things. If you're enjoying and getting value from our podcast, this is actually our 84th episode. I just ask that you please consider leaving your review on iTunes. It really will help us grow and kind of be found by more men across the world. So I really appreciate that. And then, this is something I talk about a lot. It's a couple of the groups that we have going on. Specifically, we have a private membership program called the Fit Dad Nation Inner Circle. It's something that I'm really proud of, and it's a hub and community for dads looking to reclaim their health and fitness, and they're ready to work for it. So, as you know, and I talk about a lot, the industry is filled with, just a lot of bullshit and fake coaches, misinformation, and people looking to make a quick buck selling garbage. And that's one of the things I really despise about this business. So, I created this program to cut through all of that, and it's totally interactive, monthly and even weekly fitness challenges. There's live Q&As, full workout programs, tutorials, mobility workouts, and even transformation challenges that we do. So if you're looking for a tribe of like-minded dads working towards the same things that you are, and you're ready to actually work for it, take a look at the program. It can be found at fitdadnation.com/Inner Circle. So my guest today is somebody I had on the show back at the end of 2018. He's actually one of the few fitness coaches that I go to for legit fitness information and advice. His name is Tony Gentilcore, and he's a Boston-based strength coach. He runs his own gym called Core. He's also a prolific content creator. He's a speaker. He's a writer. And he's seemingly on somebody's podcast, every other day. He's kind of everywhere online. He's also the father to a young son. And I honestly believe he's one of the good guys in this fitness industry. So welcome, Tony. I appreciate you coming back.
He's a poet. He's a He-Man connoisseur. Like, there's all sorts of things.
I could have gone on for half an hour about all the things that you... Yes, exactly.
Thank you for... I'm impressed. I didn't realize this is show 84. Congrats.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I met a lot of great people. Get to connect with guys like you, and yeah, it's been awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I know, because you mentioned the last time you and I spoke, it was towards the end of 2018. So year and a half ago, like, we were just reminiscing. My kid just turned 3, so back then he was a year and a half and couldn't talk, and now he's all over the place now.
Yes, and he's famous. He's Insta famous. Pop-Up Julian.
Pop-Up Julian, yeah. And then I just started a new one called Hallway Lightsaber Battle.
I saw that.
So I'm hoping maybe that can catch some steam, but because I think I have more fun doing that than he does. So.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah, I swear you're a part-time comedian too. I mean, your writing is just hilarious. I mean,
I tried. I think I try to write how I talk, and thankfully it comes across as such. I've yet to have someone meet me in person and say that I'm awkward. I'm exactly, if they read my stuff, I'm exactly the same way in person. So I think that is a very valuable trait to have as a writer. If you can relay information, I mean, the information you and I relay is not exciting information, so to speak.
Yep.
When you're talking about scapular upward rotation or the intricacies of femoral acetabular impingement, that is not at all exciting. So if you can throw in some like Transformers references or some kind of pop culture and maybe throw an F-bomb or two in, like, keep people engaged, then you're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, and you do it well. I mean, I really struggle with that. Like, in person, I have plenty of personality and I'm a pretty relaxed guy, but like, for some reason, when I get online, I get all serious, and it's so hard for me to break out of that. I'm like, dude, chill the fuck out. Like, why are you so intense? And I have a hard time, like, just loosening up. So I really enjoy reading your stuff because you combine actually teaching people stuff with keeping it interesting and funny and, what do they call it? Edutainment. So, you do a great job of that.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So last time we spoke, we talked about, some of the bullshit that's going on in the industry and has been and always will be, and how to keep fit as a busy dad. And So you and I could talk about a million things. We could shoulder strength, hip strength, 67 variations of the payoff press, all that stuff. But I want to talk about something a little bit different. I want to talk about the business side of what you do, and specifically becoming or the online entrepreneur side. I know you have an online business and an offline business, and I want to talk more about the online side because obviously the barrier to entry is basically zero. I see so many dads nowadays because we do a lot of, actually everything in groups now, and guys are reaching out to me and saying, hey man, I'm really miserable in my career. I want to do something else. How did you get started? Tell me about your online business. And, I know a bit about your story, but I definitely want to get into some of that. But before we do, just maybe remind people a little bit about your backstory here.
So in terms of my career, like in the fitness industry, I don't know how far back you wanted me to go, Steve. So I just want to make sure.
Whatever you want.
So in terms of my career, like once I graduated college, I basically was thrown into the industry right away because I did an internship at a corporate fitness facility right out of college, and they hired me right away, and I augmented that with being a personal trainer at a commercial gym setting as well. And I did that for 3 years. So the first 3 years of my career, I made zero money and lived in the middle of nowhere, New York. I had no girlfriend. I basically just lived and breathed and ate fitness. Like I was getting up at 5 a.m. to do 400-meter sprints at the track, and then I would go train. I had no life. And it was great. It was a nice early stage of my career, and that turns out I could experiment with a lot of different things I was reading about. That eventually led to me moving to Connecticut, where Eric Cressy and I worked together at the same facility. We lived in the same apartment and trained at the same gym and worked at the same gym in Connecticut, and then for about a year. And then we moved to Boston, where he did his thing, I did my thing. We were still roommates, and then we opened up Cressy Sports Performance in 2007. And in that window between when I was in Connecticut to when we opened up Cressy Sports Performance, so this would have been 2005 to 2007, that was also the time where the internet was definitely a thing. I wouldn't say it was certainly at the stage where it is now in terms of social media. Social media did not exist back in 2005. We didn't have smartphones back in 2005. And my first online client was actually a former in-person client of mine back in Syracuse, New York. And when I moved to Connecticut, he was like, I still want you to write my programs. Is that even a thing? And I was like, I don't know, but let's try to figure it out. And essentially, he would mail me a check. This is so old school compared to what we do today. I would get a check in the mail from him for the monthly program, and then I would email him a Excel spreadsheet that had the program on it. And then what I would do is I bought a digital camera, and I would film the videos and upload them into my camera, then upload them onto my computer, which took forever back then. It took forever, at least a half hour to do just one video. And if he had any questions, it was me either writing a paragraph-long explanation of what the exercise is, or attempt to send him a video via email. So that is essentially how my online persona started, because then that also bled into starting a blog, writing for T Nation and all that. And then once I started getting my name out there more, certainly that opened up the window for other individuals to reach out to me and ask about, hey, could I hire you to write my programs? And I kept it pretty simple. Like I wasn't at all organized back then. I was just like, yeah, sure, I'll write your programs. Like here's my address. Send me the money, and then I'll write that. And I've never been. I wouldn't say I've ever been anyone who is too aggressive in that area, as far as growing it. But now it's at a point where I would say it's kind of I wouldn't say it's a 50-50 split. It's maybe like a 70-30. Like 70% of my business is training people in person, not to mention my travel for speaking and writing, and then the other 20 to 30% is stuff that I do online with people who pay me to write their individual programs, or expanding a subscription service called Core Online, which of late I've not been aggressive with doing, so I just had other priorities. But yeah, that's essentially how it began. And then over the years, from 2007 to now, it definitely has evolved to a little bit more of a process. I mean, I still use Excel spreadsheets. I'm just a creature of habit. Like that's how I still write them. And of late, actually, Google Drive would be the more appropriate. I use Google Drive now to train my distance-based clients. And certainly, PayPal's made things a lot easier. Stripe's made things a lot easier as far as accepting payments and making them a little bit more systematized. Yep. Where I don't have to like constantly like, hey, where's the payment? It just automatically does it, which has made it very easy. But now, like, I mean, there are people who could talk way over me with regards to online coaching and training hundreds and hundreds of people. I mean, that to me boggles my mind. Like, I can't fathom working with that many people online where you're just in front of your computer all day. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I feel like I'm an individual who's found a nice balance between training people in person and then augmenting income with training people online. And I think I think it's super important to be able to have the skills to train people in person first. I do think that is an important criteria. So for anyone, whether they are a fitness professional or they're someone who's looking to change careers and have been into fitness and they want to start training people online, I do think it's an important criteria, or I would even say a prerequisite to say you need to get good at training people in person first and do that before attempting to coach people online. Because if you can't coach a squat in person, you're not going to do it well over the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we don't see a lot of that right on social media.
No, it's like people think that, yeah, unfortunately, it's like they think that, I mean, it's great. Don't get me wrong. Like, certainly the internet and social media has definitely broadened people's ability to make money and make a living. But it's also promoted a lot more eyewash too.
Yes.
Out there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've really admired the way that your business has evolved and how you've built it. And, I look at the success that you've had, and I think it's a better benchmark, than what we normally see here, which is, basically flashing your abs, your tits, your ass. And, by the way, here's my coaching program for $97. And, there's very little substance, and, chances are, a lot of times it's not really helping anybody. It's just kind of a generic, something or other. And there's no real value there. And it's hard. We talked about this before. It is hard to see that. How someone will have 400,000 or 500,000 followers on Instagram, which gives them credibility, but then you look at their bio and they've literally became a trainer yesterday, and the qualification is they have a nice body. And unfortunately, people will pay them because, hey, I know Joe over here has a great body. I want a great body. I'm gonna pay him. And
it's I guess it's one of those things where it's like, I wouldn't, maybe it's not a catch-22, but it's the bane of the industry to a degree where, yes, I could sit here and complain and like roll my eyes, and I do. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely do. Where I'll see somebody on Instagram, or somebody will tag somebody else on Instagram, and then I'll be like, oh, I'll click on it and be, who's this person? And then they have a couple 100,000 followers. I was like, I've never heard of this person. Mm-hmm. And then I look at their feed, and it is a lot of narcissistic tendencies where it's like shirt off, butt pic. It is quite amazing how people can make any exercise into some kind of like butt tribute. Which is impressive in and of itself, I suppose. But then, and don't get me wrong, yes, I roll my eyes at it, and I'm just like, oh. But then it's like, I just kind of turn the page and move on and try to stay in my lane and yes, still continue to try to, promote stuff and produce stuff that actually gets people better. Which at the end of the day, I do think people who concentrate on that do rise to the top. I think, the danger of social media, in my opinion, is that it's very fleeting and nothing is guaranteed. So, it's scary. Like, to me, I'm like, there's nothing holding Facebook back from saying, okay, we're done with Instagram, or we're changing the algorithm this week, and which they've done many times, and it has messed with people's online businesses. And if you're relying solely on your body to be your brand, which in the industry, yes, I get it, that is part of the shtick. But you're relying on, exposing just using your Instagram feed as like your main business, and you're not writing and you're not producing content that people are sharing and helping people, and you're not growing your mailing list and in a way that's ethical, you're kind of playing with fire. I feel. Sure, it's going to last now, but what's it going to be like 5 years from now? And there's many flash in the pans currently, where the latest trend now is keto. So what can anyone do? And the funny thing about keto is it's been around forever. First of all, it's been around forever, and then you have all these people on Instagram now who are promoting keto this, keto that, and they did not use keto to look the way they do right now.
No.
They did years of, training hard and then eating their ass off and fueling their body. And now they're just promoting keto because that is the new flavor of the year, I suppose. It's been, I think we're going on about a year, maybe two, of where it's become more of a prominent thing. But, yeah, I know I'm going off on a rant, but I think with social media and online stuff, like it's great because, again, it has definitely broadened people's horizons to make money and to, like, yes, okay, they aren't happy with their job and they want to do something more in fitness. Great, that allows them to do that. But I think you got to be careful with the narcissistic approach. I always say, like, you can really kind of judge the fitness professionals, emphasis on professionals, compared to those who are just fitness celebrities, looking at their Instagram feed. Like, if I look on somebody's Instagram feed and I see nothing but shirtless pictures and ass videos, and like basically looking as if a photographer follows them around everywhere, that's a fitness celebrity. And to me, I'm like, like, this is not to say that some of them are putting out great content. Yes, they are, but I'm just like, not my cup of tea. A fitness professional is somebody who is putting up videos of their clients and videos of, like, hey, here's a cool exercise, or here's an exercise I feel fixes this issue. They are solving problems and providing content, like actionable content. At the end of the day, I feel like those are the people who are going to have a longer lasting career, as opposed to being the flash in the pan, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I could totally jump into this conversation and talk for an hour about it, because I feel really strongly about it. But I told myself I would not do that on this show because I want to talk about something else. And so, why I wanted to have you here is because, I've seen you build, we've been in contact for years, probably 5 or 6 years at least. And I've seen your business evolve. And so, I've got, it's almost all middle-aged guys that I've had long-term careers, and as part of our groups, and more reaching out to me saying, dude, I'm so fucking miserable. I'm bored, I'm uninspired. I see what you do. I see, you're always posting things like, your lifestyle looks pretty awesome. You're riding your bike in the middle of the day. You're at the gym. You're shooting content. You look happy. You're outside. You're not, in a cubicle. How do I do that? And so I wanted to talk to you specifically about kind of the steps that you took to get started, how you stand out, and how actually you stay relevant now. Because 5, 10 years, even 10 years ago, I started in 2010 with blogging. It was a lot easier to get noticed. Now it's really hard to get eyeballs. And I've noticed that your style is pretty much contrarian to what a lot of people do, which is you're doing anything and everything to get eyeballs, which is stupid. Honestly, a lot of your videos aren't even like, this isn't a dig. It's just, they're not like, they don't look professionally done. It's like,
it looks like something my 3-year-old did. Yes, I get it. Yeah.
No, but people don't care because what you're saying, it's helping people.
it's kind of a mix and match of a lot of things. Like, I think, if you're someone like myself who has career capital, that definitely bodes in my favor. Like, I've been in the industry since 2002, and very much right time, right place. Like, I essentially evolved with the growth of the internet and social media and evolved with it. Mm-hmm. So there's a degree of that. So that to me, like, I look back early in my career to, like, okay, I started in 2002, really started kind of like taking off in like 2005, 2007. And since 2007, it's been more of a thing where it's like, I've evolved with it, and I've certainly latched on. I was an early adopter of Twitter, early adopter of posting my blogs on Facebook before the algorithm sucked, and mm-hmm. Which allowed me to get more eyeballs on my content. And and with regards to content, like I'm very much old school. Like, I do think content reigns supreme. I think if you're someone who is putting out good content, people are going to eventually find it and latch onto it and share it. And the more you provide actionable content that people can relate to, that solves a problem. Like, I think a lot of the industry today is barking at a lot of issues. Like, oh, this sucks, that sucks, this sucks, this mm-hmm. person sucks. But then they're not providing an alternative solution. I think that's the key. So a lot of what I do with my content is, I have clients I work with in person. They bring up stuff all the time. They'll ask me a question like, "Oh, like why don't we do a lot of crunches?" And then I say, "Well, I can explain to them in person, of course." Mm-hmm. But then it's like, "Okay, well, why don't I do something on Instagram where it's like, here are some anti-crunch exercises that work your core that are going to get a little bit more bang for your buck." And that there you go. There's content you can easily repurpose on Instagram, on Facebook, in your newsletter, on your blog. Because the name of the game today is repurposing content, mm-hmm. Which I am, not saying I'm a master of. But if I make a video, like if I make a video for an Instagram story or feed, and I write this 400-word thing explaining the exercise, what its benefits are, and why it's going to help you, and what you should use it for, you can bet your bottom dollar the next day I'm making that into a blog post, because not everyone who reads my blog goes on Instagram and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So that's an easy way to repurpose your content and kind of roll with the times and get more eyeballs on your stuff. And again, I can't reiterate enough how important it is to kind of really lean into more of the content side of things, and just listening to your clients and listening to what people are bringing up online as far as the issues they're coming across, and providing a solution.
Yeah, and I mean, I know you're not a quote unquote business expert. Like, you don't teach people how to build businesses, but I wanted to hear your view because, just the way you've done it has been, I guess we'll just call it old school. It seems like, there's a couple ways to build a business online. You create a high converting funnel, and then you scale the shit out of it with ads, right? That's one way to do it. That's how a lot of people do it. Sure. But then you're hiding behind a sales page. You don't have any relationships. And to me, I don't like that model. You probably make more money doing that if you can figure it out, but I just don't enjoy that. It doesn't seem like, that's not your style from whatever I've seen. So you build relationships, you're helping people, you're putting a lot of content out there. And people, they know that you care, like you respond to comments and,
Well, that's part of the deal too, is I think if you're going to put in all this effort to building an online platform or an online persona or a following, on any of the, we'll just say the big three, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, it makes sense from a business standpoint to interact with your audience. It doesn't, because if people are posting comments or asking questions and you don't respond to anything, how long do you think they're going to stick around? Never. So, and certainly you see a lot of the same individuals, of course. But when people, something as simple as when someone shares something on stories or shares a tweet, just responding with a thank you is more than enough. Like that, it actually boggles my mind sometimes how people will thank me for thanking them for sharing something I wrote. And I'm like, and they're like, oh my God, thank you for the thank you. Like, I can't believe you responded. And I'm just like, it's not a big deal. Like, it took me 3 seconds to do that. And you're helping me. Like, thank you again. So yes, I mean, that is part of the job, so to speak, is interacting with your followers, because that, and I'm not saying you have to go. There was something that Nick Tumnello put up the other day on Facebook, which I agreed with, where essentially, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, another fitness professional wrote this infographic that another fitness professional disagreed with. So the fitness professional B contacted fitness professional A and was like, with this extensive like question, like, that required a lengthy response. And fitness professional A basically kind of like brushed it aside and ended up blocking the fitness professional B.
Jesus.
And, and Nick was like, and then fitness professional B contacted Nick and was like, oh, what the hell's up with this? Like, they write this infographic and I respond with this detailed response, asking questions and really kind of like, and in a professional way. It wasn't like they were like trolling them. And then this person just kind of like brushes me aside. And Nick was like, well, number one, that's probably not how I would respond. But number two, they don't owe you anything. Because what people fail to realize is like, we, in our industry, we, like me in particular, and a lot of my colleagues provide a lot of free content that takes time to conjure up. I mean, it takes me, if I write a new article or a new blog post, that takes me 2, 3, 4 hours to do. I mean, Brett Contreras did this wonderful presentation on the NSCA virtual conference last year, describing how he grew his Instagram to almost 1 million followers now. And he says it takes him a good 4 or 5 hours to produce a good infographic, write the description, put like that. And most people don't think of that. It takes me 10 minutes. And he's like, well, that's why you don't have a good following, because you don't put in time. You don't put in the effort. And to Nick's point, he was saying like this person took the time to make this really detailed infographic, which, okay, you didn't agree with. That is a conversation to be had, but they don't owe you anything. Like, they don't have to respond to this detailed response back to you, because again, that's time. I mean, the more appropriate way, and I saw other people chime in with this, is like, well, I have one friend, Joe Dowdell, who was not in this thing at all, but his response to it was like, well, what I do is I reach out to the person and say, I will pay you for your time to discuss this. Like, let's hop on the phone for an hour and let's talk it out. I will pay you for your time. That's one way to do it. So yeah, there's I don't know where I was going with this, but so essentially it is, I mean, providing good content takes time. I mean, it's more labor intensive than people actually think it is. Like, it isn't just about getting a nice camera and filming this cool video. I mean, Brett was even saying in this presentation that he did for the NSCA was like, lighting matters, angles matter, sound quality matters. Like, I mean, if you're not thinking about those finer details and you're wondering why you're not growing your online business, then look at that. Like, details matter. Like, people will look at quality of the video and the sound quality, and even if it is good content, they might kind of go to the next person. So all that stuff matters.
Yeah, actually, I had a similar conversation with Jordan Syatt about that same thing, and he spends hours crafting his social media posts. And I mean, if you know Jordan, he's got a huge following and extremely engaged. People love the guy. And it's because, he puts out a massive amount of, obviously modeled after Gary Vee. He was training Gary Vee for a while, but
he had a good mentor.
Yeah, you think? So we've had that conversation a few times, and I've gone to him and said, listen, dude, I'm struggling. He's like, dude, you're not working hard enough. You're not putting enough time into what you're doing, your posts. You need to do better.
And not to be contrarian to Jordan. I mean, I've known Jordan for years. He interned with us at Cressy Sports Performance back in the day. This is not contrarian to Jordan at all. But I don't believe Jordan trains a lot of people in person. I think he is 100% online. So he does have more time to put more quality into.
Yes.
I mean, he's phenomenal on video.
Yes.
Like the camera definitely gravitates to him.
Oh, yeah.
Like me, I can't stand video. I hate it. Like I'm an introvert. I prefer to write.
Yep.
That is my strength. So when Jordan says you're not putting in enough time, Jordan's also not a dad. He's a single dude. He can travel wherever the fuck he wants to go.
Yep.
But he does. I mean, he has a work ethic. Don't get me wrong. Like he grinds. As much as I hate saying that word,
Yep.
He does it. So it definitely comes down to context. Okay.
Sure.
So but the message does resonate. Like it takes effort and time. It isn't just about slapping up some quick video and graphic on Canva and putting it up on Instagram. Like, yeah, the people who take the time, as Jordan, as Brett Contreras, as Girls Gone Strong, whatever. Like, if you look at their Instagram feed, like their infographics are pretty freaking impressive. And it would take me 2 days to do that. Like,
Sure.
So that is a conversation that people have to have with themselves when they're thinking about switching gears to a different career or trying to pursue this online thing. Because it's not easy. Like to me, my opinion is online training, like as far as like coaching people online, is way more time intensive to me than doing in-person coaching. Because then you get to factor in answering emails and then like doing the back and forth with the programming and answering questions and going into the private Facebook group, answering questions there, and then people. I mean, I don't even touch nutrition. I've got those fitness professionals who provide online training plus nutrition. I would not want their life at all. Like, because then if you factor in nutrition, like that is a whole level of clusterfuckery that I don't want to deal with. When people they'll email you, hey, is it okay if I have an apple at 4 p.m. today? Like I don't want to deal with that. Like, so, I know you mentioned yourself that you have, guys in your group and friends that look at you as like, oh, I see you, you're outside all the time. And, you're putting in a lot, like it's a lot of work to do online training. It isn't just, having a laptop on the beach and, oh, look where I'm writing programs. Like that might be the case for some people, but then you're on your fucking computer all day. Yep. You're looking at the beach. You're not participating with the beach.
Yes.
So to me, like it's a conversation that people have to have with themselves. It's like, I think there's this idea that, okay, transitioning over to an online fitness business is just going to be like rainbows and butterfly kisses, and you're just going to like develop these systems and funnels, and it's just people are going to show up and pay you money. So like, no, it takes a lot of effort and organization to get all that set up. Not to mention, like, what is going to be the driving force to get people to your online fitness business? Like, what kind of content are you providing? Which is a whole nother conversation of like work ethic and video quality and blah blah blah. I mean, it's just a never ending cycle of shenanigans. Again, another rant, but hopefully the message is kind of resonating with people who are listening. It's like, yes, pursue it. Like, believe me, I think if you do it right and you do it well, even if it's just to augment your current career or current situation, it is a worthy pursuit. Like, because don't get me wrong, it's great when you have 10, 15, 20, I don't know, 100 people paying you a fee to develop this program. Like, yeah, that's awesome to have that revenue stream. And I think if you're looking for, ways to like get more financial freedom, it's a wonderful way to do it. But don't be disillusioned to think that you're just going to set it up and it's going to happen, because there's a lot of moving parts to it.
Yeah, for sure. And so for those people that aren't, they're not going to go into fitness, but let's say you've got a 45-year-old guy who's been in his job for 22 years. He's miserable. He's burned out. He wants to do something else. He wants to pursue his passions. He's finally like, you know what? I need to live with some purpose. I want to do something that I actually enjoy.
Yep.
And they're looking to, and then again, I get this conversation, this email or conversation quite a bit of, how do I get started? Where do I start? Because I don't really know what I want to do. I just know it's not this.
Yeah.
And you talked about having the experience, and that counts for a lot. Like Cal Newport has so good that they can't ignore you. That book changed actually the direction of my whole business because, I used my experience. But let's just say someone doesn't have experience in whatever. They want to become a chess teacher, whatever. And they've only played a year of chess, whatever. How do you take that information and say, you know what, I love playing chess. I want to do this for a living online somehow. It's so confusing now. Like, it's, it is. There's no doubt about it. And people are like, well, what, do I need a website? Do I just have social? Do I need a email lead magnet? Do I need a program? Do I need a funnel? Blah, blah, blah. So, the internet well. The state of online business. Where would you tell somebody like that who has a kind of an idea of what they love to do and they want an online business and how do they even get started?
So there's a few suggestions I would make there. So we're going to hypothesize and say we're going to take your example of a 45-year-old male, burnout, loves fitness, has always been into fitness, his free time. I get this too. These are individuals who on their free time, they're reading my blog or T Nation, or they're reading Juggernaut. Like they're just geeks about fitness. And not to mention they've been lifting, they're a meathead. My suggestion would be a few things. Number one, I would find a mentor or seek out a mentor, both in person and online. So there are many business insiders, or I don't know if you want to call them. What's the more appropriate term I'm looking for? I'm blanking at the moment. Mastermind groups or anything that you could probably join for a fee, of course, but some of them are very well worth it. That because then you just have a group of like-minded individuals who are there to kind of network and help each person along. I do think number one, it is important to learn the nuances of coaching people in person. So I would encourage said individual to seek out a trainer or a coach within their area that they can go shadow, observe, and see how they coach people in person, like the nuances of deadlift technique and how to change squat stance to better fit the needs and ability level of people, and how to train around shoulder injuries and improve overhead mobility, all that stuff. I think that's invaluable. From the online standpoint, there are many people who have developed systems that are just for them, that are just for this purpose. So the first one that comes into my mind is the Online Trainer Academy with Jonathan Goodman. Yep. I think if you just want to be handed over the keys to the Mercedes, there it is. Like, he has gone out of his way to develop a system, protocols, the manual for, okay, here's from point A to point Z, here's how you're going to develop your online business. And he covers everything. So you'd be hard pressed to find anyone who's more detailed than that system is the Online Trainer Academy. So I would just encourage people to go there because it's already done. Like, there you go. Yeah. I'm sure there are several others, but that to me is kind of the gold standard is the Online Trainer Academy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know of his stuff well, and he's legit for sure. But like, if it's somebody that's not in the fitness business, and so that applies to anybody. So if your passion is like I said, chess, you find someone that's doing what you want to do.
Yep.
Find a way to align yourself with them. Find a mentor. Out to them.
It only makes sense. You got to find somebody who's doing the thing that you want to do. Yeah. That to me, that's just common sense. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but to me, it's just like, you got to find a person who's doing the thing that you want to do, and just kind of like reach out and say, hey, like, I admire what you do. Like, can I? I've had people who've said, I want to pay you for your time, and hop on Skype or hop on a call and talk about opening up a small studio, or talk about how do I grow my exactly what you're talking about, my fitness business, and how do I pursue that? And people are more than willing to help out. It's paying it forward for a reason, but I think that's a crucial step that people tend to overthink. It's just, no, you got to find the person that's doing what you want to do, and then ask questions. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a great place to start. And,
but then, of course, I think, another like low hanging fruit would be, I mean, I've had individuals who said, okay, I want to start training people online, and then it might be a family member who lives in a different city, or an old college roommate who lives across the country, and they start writing programs for them just to kind of get the practice of doing it, which you might do it for free, but just to gain the practice, or it might just be a cost, and then build it from there. Like, I mean, I started with one online client back in 2005. I think I charged $50 to write his programs because I didn't know any better. Then over the course of the decade, I would gain more clients, and I would uptick my prices, and which then started to include. Then you got to provide value. So what is if someone's paying you for an online service, what comes with that? Like, I think there are platforms you can purchase like exercise.com that provide you like an online platform, an area where you can email your clients, send them videos, send their programs. That's another system that makes it very seamless and easy, where they provide you the platform of like, okay, here's the hub of your online business, where now we're going to provide a service where you can collect payments, where you can email back and forth with your clients, where you can post videos that they can see, and their programs, and go back and forth, which makes it very easy, and do stuff there, and then and slowly integrate people in something like that. Yeah, I mean, we live in an era now where there's an app coming out almost every week now, where it's like that kind of makes your life a little bit easier. But yeah, as far as like, I mean, things like Online Trainer Academy, exercise.com would be what I would definitely point people towards, as far as giving them the bones of a business. And then after that, it's like, okay, what are going to be the added benefits of working with you? So I think you said you do maybe weekly or bi-weekly videos or Q&As with people in your group. I think that's a fantastic way of adding value. I have a private Facebook group where all my distance coaching clients get put into this Facebook group, that's the place where they can post videos for me to critique. Yeah. Not to mention the other members can see me or see what I say about this video, and that it might apply to them. It also just takes less time to do it that way. So rather than 9-10 different people sending me videos, which takes time, I say, well, post your top set of your deadlifts in that group, and we'll see where your form breaks down, and then I'll see it, and I'll provide feedback, and then everyone else can see it, and then my feedback as well, and then they'll see it, and it probably applies to someone else, and they'll be like, oh, that makes sense. And so there's ways to add value to your service with stuff like that. A private Facebook group would be a perfect place to do that.
Yeah, but at the very core of all of this, and looking back when you started, you didn't worry about having everything perfect, getting all the right logos and everything.
Nope.
It just came down to content, right? And so, for example,
it was that, and content, yes, but that was my own choice. Like when I started I didn't have a wife, I didn't have a kid, so I certainly had more time to write 5 articles a week, and that definitely helps. But also, like, providing a service. So if you're someone interested in providing online training, I've had many people reach out to me to be their online coach because their previous coach, or they had a bad experience with the previous coach where it would take a week or two just to get an answer back from them or to respond. And I'm not saying I respond within like 5 or 10 minutes, but there's definitely like a 24-hour window where I am responding to somebody's question. So even that is okay. Can you provide a good service where do people have access to you? But of course, that comes with boundaries. Then there's a discussion that this would be my wife's area, where she works with a lot of fitness professionals where they have a hard time developing boundaries with clients, where the expectation is like they're answering emails at like 11:30 at night, and I'm like, fuck that. Like I don't want to I have no interest in doing that. So you have to kind of set the criteria. It's like, okay, you know, you're going to send me an email. Maybe it's once a week or maybe it's daily. Some people are different, but the expectation is that I'm going to respond within a 24-hour period. I'm not going to say I'm going to respond within 30 minutes or anything like that. So yeah, you know, are you the type of individual, if you're going to pursue online coaching, that people are going to have access to you to some degree? And what is that access going to be?
Sure. I think in any service-based business, not like selling T-shirts, which nobody cares, but you know, there's that saying that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think that's true. I mean, I really feel like people are starving for, and I read this somewhere, they're starving for authenticity on social media. And I think if you're going into any kind of service-based business, it doesn't have to be fitness coaching or any coaching at all, but being a real person, you know, offering real value is where you start versus how do I game the system? How do I get as many likes and followers as possible? Yeah. You know, because that's not a real business model. And like I said, you know, you're the first person that comes to mind on someone that's, you know, and I mean, I see it's been a long, slowish approach for you. Like you didn't go from 100 followers to 1 million. Like nope. It's been a slow progression. You know,
I'm not aggressive at all. Like I know I'm just, I mean, part of me doesn't really care because I do have, I'm a little bit different because I do have people I coach in person and they're really my priority. Like my in-person clients are more of a priority to me than my Instagram following. Because the people who I train in person pay my bills. So, you know, they're always going to be more of a priority to me. However, it is nice to have multiple revenue streams, which took years to develop. I mean, that just, people are just so impatient nowadays. It's like you got people who graduate college within a year or two and they're wondering why they're not making six figures. It doesn't happen that way. I don't know many industries where the entry level is six figures. You know, there aren't many. I know they exist, but there's not many. It takes years to develop that, and I am certainly not someone who I doubt I would be somebody that most people should model in terms of how to grow their Instagram following. It's like, I mean, mine doesn't suck, but I'm just not aggressive with it. Like I don't stress if I don't post something for 2 days. Like it's like, okay, I don't have anything to say. They're not a big deal. Right. I mean, some people get really, really bad anxiety if they don't post something. Because it's like, it's more so, I think it's more mental. They want to feed I hate saying narcissism, but it is kind of what they're looking. They want that dopamine fix of like the people pressing that like button, which is unfortunate because that isn't necessarily. It's fake. It's all fake. That is not growing your business really. I mean, I remember I read a story a few months ago about this influencer, which is a term I hate, who had a couple 100,000 followers, who could not sell 20 T-shirts. Yep. You know, like that's the bane of Instagram right there. It's like, yeah, you might have a couple 100,000 followers. I mean, whether or not you paid for them or not, like it's okay. You have this aura of being somebody who's kind of a big deal, but you can't sell 20 T-shirts. Yep. So how are you going to make a living off that? Because you don't have any content. You're not authentic. You don't interact with your audience. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of moving parts to this, and everyone has to have a conversation with themselves to say, like, are you willing to put in the work? Because it isn't just going to happen. Unfortunately, it's just not how it works. Yeah, I mean, you're perfect example. I know I'm preaching to the choir. Yeah, I mean, I'm just preaching, and I mean, man, when was it? I think when I left Cressy Sports Performance in 2015. And then I opened up Core, and I think it wasn't until 2016 that I produced my first T-shirt. That I was like, okay, cool, I have a T-shirt. Year 12 of my career, I have my first T-shirt. You know, and again, this isn't to say there aren't people who have a little bit more of an expeditious rise in the industry. I look at somebody like Greg Nuckols. of Stronger by Science. Like he's still relatively young. I mean, but I mean, what's his MO? Fucking awesome content, which takes days, if not weeks, to write an article. And he's had a really nice exponential growth in his notoriety in the fitness industry. Another good example would be Erica Sutter, who focuses on a lot of youth soccer, in particular female youth soccer. She writes phenomenal content, has a very similar writing style to me, where she's putting in Lord of the Rings references, and she kind of swears a little bit, but it's really great content. But she's been consistent with it for the last 2, 3, 4 years, and now I see she's presenting and like all over the place now, and it's really been cool to see her rise as well. But what's the common denominator there? Is content.
Yep.
I can't hammer home that point enough. You have to be able. You have to help people, and solve a problem. And whether or not that's like finding a niche, whether it's youth soccer or powerlifters or dads. I mean, you have to kind of find your tribe, and then content.
Yeah, and then like with trying to get fit, I mean, consistency is the key. Just like, with your content, you've been incredibly consistent. Would you write 2 blog posts a week for how many years in a row?
Oh no, it was more like 4.
Okay.
I mean, since Julian's come into the picture, I'm lucky if I get 1 or 2 up a week now, which is still pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I was going at like a 3 to 5 clip for years, and I probably have like 2,500 blog posts on my website, not to mention articles on various websites. So, I was going at a pretty good clip, where I had a nice little schedule where I'd get up in the morning, do my writing, go coach. That was what I did. My preference was writing. Whether or not, I mean, there are fitness professionals who have a nice mix of like writing and then video content, and writing and podcasts, and video content. Some are just video. You got to kind of find what your strength is. Mm-hmm. I think it's nice to have a nice mix of various media. Mm-hmm. However, I'm kind of probably being a little bit ornery in saying this. I do think those individuals who can write will have a little bit more staying power, I believe. I think if you can articulate your points via the writing, I think I don't think that's never going to go away. I know people think that writing blogs and articles is dead, like people don't read, but I don't agree with that at all. Because I think if you provide content that's accessible, and you don't have to be the humorous writer. I mean, not that I would say I'm a humorous writer. I mean, I'm an entertaining writer, but there are people who write very dry content that are more research based that get a ton of views. I mean, there's geeks out there that just want to get to the nuts and potatoes or the meat and potatoes of squat mechanics. I mean, there's you just got to figure out what your strengths are, and then be consistent with it. I mean, unfortunately there's no formula that's gonna dictate success, other than you got to be consistent and you got to put the work in. I mean, I know we sound like a broken record in saying that, but I think we've provided a few, hey, go here, go there for like the nuts and bolts of like, online training academy, exercise.com, etc. But be diverse. But you got to hone in on what your strengths are, and then really attack it.
Yeah, let me ask you one more thing.
Yeah, of course.
And you may have actually dealt with this in the beginning too, but I think a lot of men that are starting to branch out and try something new, they're going to online business, they have like what they call, imposter syndrome, where they're like,
sure,
I'm not good enough, I don't know enough, I certainly, I'm not qualified to charge somebody for what I know about this, but I really want to. How do you get over that? Yeah,
that's a really, really good question, because I mean there are points in time where I have it too. I think everyone will go through it, and at various points. I mean, there's I think it happens all the time. I mean, I still go through it. I'm sure there are individuals in the same scenario as myself who are naming the industry who go through it. You know, my piece of advice for a lot of upcoming professionals or people who are trying to switch careers is, of course, there's nothing new in the industry. There's no new exercise or training regimen that's new. But what is new is your experience with it, your anecdotal experience with it, not to mention your research experience with it, how you apply it, how you implement it, how you describe it, you know, the stories that you use with it. Stories are magical. Like if anyone reads any of John Romanello's stuff, like he is the master of like storytelling. Yep. And how integral that is in relaying a message and getting a point across. Because people, they want to hear a story, like how this particular thing you're talking about affected you in your past, and you know how it changed you or made you better or made you worse or whatever. You know, but nothing is new. But what is new is your voice, and how you have applied it to you. So. That would be my advice for anyone going through imposter syndrome. It's like everyone goes through it. Anyone who says they haven't are lying. Everyone goes through it. But just remember that, you know, nothing's new, but that it is new in your voice. So that would be my, I guess, not overly exciting piece of advice, but I think makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, and what little you know about a particular subject is still more than someone else knows. And
well, I think it's important too that, you know, people have to understand. Like I mean, I'm very much a fan of staying in your own lane. I think where people get into trouble is when they enter a lane that they shouldn't be in. Like there's a reason why I don't write about nutrition. Number one is like I don't want to deal with the anal retentiveness of it of people, but that is not my area of expertise. Like my area of expertise is, you know, getting people stronger, moving well, training around injuries. That is my area of expertise. It is not going over the nuances of the carnivore diet or whether or not that's a good or bad thing or whatever. Like there are other professionals in the industry who that is their lane. So not to mention, you know, like I have a vast history of training with overhead athletes. So I feel comfortable being in that lane, and training young athletes in general. I feel comfortable in that lane. I don't feel comfortable talking about Olympic lifting because I don't have a lot of experience with it. So I think, you know, people have to have a conversation with themselves as far as what they actually have expertise in, because you can't know everything, and don't pretend to know something when that's not your lane. I mean, I think that's where people get into trouble is when they enter a lane they're not supposed to be in. Then that cannot bode well for them.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll just add that there's a lot of power behind saying, hey, I'm new to this, but my goal is, you know, going back to his chess example, my goal is to become a world-class chess champion, and here's my journey. And so people will follow the story, and as you become better, they'll want to learn from you. How do they do this? How do they become good at this? So that's a very powerful tool, instead of trying to be an expert, which, you know, if you don't have any experience in it, you know, you're not going to be an expert for a long, long time. So don't try to be. You know, use your story. Hey, I'm learning like you, and I have a friend. Do you know the name Michael Morelli? He runs a couple different businesses, and he's written a book. Anyway, his motto was "Let's get fit together," because he was fat, and so he turned himself around, and at the same time created a massive business, 7-figure business, million Instagram followers, just based on that. And now he's got product lines, and he's got literally everything. And so, but it started with, hey, let's do this together, and there's a lot of power behind something like that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, so he basically did it as he was doing it. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen a few people like that as well. But yeah, so awesome stuff, man. I appreciate this. As far as your site, you know, TonyGentilcore.com, I'll link to that. Is there anywhere else you want people to find you?
Oh no, that's home base for everything. Okay. That's they'll be going through a facelift at some point this year because I've had the same photography on there since 2014. It's time to change it. I'm a little bit more balder now. I need to update it. But yeah, that's home base for everything for me. So whether it's speaking engagements, articles, podcasts, etc., it's all there.
Okay, good stuff, man. I appreciate it. Thank you again for coming on here.
Oh, my pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, nothing revolutionary, but it's just hammering home the message of like putting in the work and consistency. Like that never gets old.
Yep, you bet, man. Cool, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, if you want more information, check out the Fit Dad Basecamp group on Facebook. And don't forget to stop by fitdadnation.com. Until next time, keep kicking ass and taking the next step. You can do this, Dad.